Financially useless? Really? I stared at the divorce papers on my desk, my hands trembling with a mixture of anger and disbelief. The words jumped out from Daniel's statement like a slap in the face. Wife has demonstrated consistent financial incompetence and inability to contribute meaningfully to our marriage. My name is Judith, and at 30 years old, I never expected to be labeled financially useless by my husband of 5 years, especially not while I was in the final stages of selling my tech startup in Palo Alto. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so painful. I glanced through the glass walls of my office, watching Amanda, my secretary, giggling at something on her phone. She'd been acting strange lately, taking longer lunches, making mysterious phone calls, and being oddly interested in our company's acquisition talks. Now, seeing her designer handbag and new shoes, pieces of the puzzle were starting to click into place. The notification that popped up on my laptop brought me back to reality. Another email from our acquisition team. The deal was nearly complete. $800,000 for my software company that specialized in AI-driven market analysis. I'd kept the negotiations quiet, not out of secrecy, but because I'd learned early in my career that success speaks louder than announcements. Daniel, with his real estate background, had always dismissed my work as playing with computers. He never understood what I was building, and honestly, he never tried to. Your little project, he called it, even as we gained clients and recognition in the tech industry. Judith? Amanda's voice interrupted my thoughts as she poked her head into my office. Daniel called. He said he'll be sending someone to pick up his things this weekend. Thank you, Amanda, I replied, keeping my voice neutral. I noticed her subtle smirk as she turned away, her new diamond bracelet catching the sunlight, the same style Daniel's mother had given me for our first anniversary. I turned back to my laptop, opening the secure folder containing all our company's documentation. First thing tomorrow, I would revoke Amanda's access to our systems, standard protocol for an employee giving notice, which I was certain would come any day now. The final divorce papers needed my signature. Daniel wanted a quick, clean break, citing irreconcilable differences and my supposed financial ineptitude. Little did he know that while he was planning his exit, I was closing the biggest deal of my career. I reached for my pen, a strange sense of calm washing over me. Sometimes the best response isn't a response at all. It's simply letting people reveal who they truly are. 3 days later, I sat across from my attorneys in their sleek downtown Palo Alto office, finalizing both the divorce and acquisition paperwork. The timing was almost poetic, signing away my failed marriage with one hand and securing my company's future with the other. Ms. Kennedy, you understand that by not contesting the divorce or disclosing the pending sale, Mr. Harrison will have no claim to your business assets? Barbara, my corporate attorney, asked, pushing her glasses up her nose. I nodded, remembering the night 6 months ago when I first suspected something was wrong. Daniel had been working late more often, and Amanda had started asking peculiar questions about our company's valuation methods and investor contacts. I'd hired a private investigator then, not out of jealousy, but to protect my intellectual property. The photos they provided of Daniel and Amanda's private lunches were almost secondary to my concerns about potential corporate espionage. I understand perfectly, I replied, signing another document. Daniel made his choice believing I was... I paused, quoting his words with a slight smile. Financially useless. I see no reason to correct his assumption. The corporate acquisition team had been explicit. Absolute confidentiality until the deal closed. Even our employees didn't know yet, though they'd be pleasantly surprised by the retention bonuses I'd negotiated for them. Well, most of them would be. My phone buzzed with a text from my VP of engineering. Amanda just submitted her resignation, effective immediately. Says she's pursuing an exciting new opportunity. Right on schedule, I murmured, earning a curious look from Barbara. Should we be concerned? She asked. I shook my head. No, just the expected departure of someone who thinks they've found a better opportunity. I didn't mention that I'd already transferred all her access to a monitored account that would track any attempts to access sensitive information. In tech, You learn to prepare for exits before they happen. Later that afternoon, I overheard two developers discussing how Amanda had been bragging about her brilliant investment opportunity, something about exclusive real estate deals that would double investors' money within months. I recognized the gleam of avarice that had probably attracted Daniel. They were perfect for each other in that way, both so eager to get rich quickly that they couldn't see the value of building something real. I turned back to my computer, pulling up the final acquisition checklist. Let them chase their dreams of easy money. I had a company to sell and a future to build. The acquisition deal closed on a Thursday afternoon. As I stood in our office kitchen, watching my team celebrate with champagne and watching their faces light up as I announced their retention bonuses, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment. Not just for the sale, but for building something real, something valuable. "To Judith!" called out Michael, our lead developer, raising his glass. "The best boss who never once mentioned she was secretly a genius millionaire." The room erupted in laughter and applause. I smiled, thinking about how different this was from Daniel's dream of quick riches. He'd always talked about hitting it big, with some clever scheme or insider tip, never understanding that true success usually came from years of careful work. My phone buzzed with a message from Barbara. Divorce finalized. Harrison didn't contest any terms. Congratulations. You're officially single and significantly wealthier. I was about to respond when Tyler from accounting hurried over, his face flushed with excitement that had nothing to do with champagne. "Judith, you won't believe what I just heard," he whispered. "My friend at First Bay Bank says Daniel just took out a massive loan against his real estate holdings. He's liquidating everything to invest in some exclusive opportunity." Tyler made air quotes with his fingers. Apparently, Amanda convinced him she had inside knowledge about our company's proprietary trading algorithms. I kept my expression neutral, even as I processed this information. Amanda had never had access to our actual AI technology. What she'd seen was just the user interface we showed to clients. But of course, she wouldn't tell Daniel that. "That's interesting," I replied calmly, taking a sip of champagne. "I'm sure they know what they're doing." Later that evening, as I packed up my office, I found an old photo of Daniel and me at a company Christmas party. He was looking at his phone as usual, while I was discussing a new project with our developers. It seemed fitting now. He had never really been present in my world, always looking for something better, something faster. I dropped the photo in the recycling bin and picked up my laptop. Tomorrow, we'd begin the integration process with our acquiring company. I had a 3-year contract to continue leading my team, developing our technology further with the resources of a major tech firm behind us. As I walked to my car, I saw a text from my old private investigator. "Thought you'd want to know. AM just bought one-way tickets to the Cayman Islands. Solo traveler." I didn't respond. Instead, I turned off my phone and drove home to my new condo in the hills, where I had a glass of wine on the balcony, watching the sunset over Silicon Valley. Sometimes success isn't about getting even. It's about moving forward and letting others face the consequences of their own choices. 2 months after the acquisition, I was deep in meetings about expanding our AI platform when the first signs of Daniel and Amanda's downfall began to surface. I was reviewing integration plans with our new parent company when Lisa, my former assistant from accounting, called. "Have you seen the news?" she asked without preamble. "Daniel's real estate office just announced their closing. There's a crowd of angry investors outside their building." I pulled up the local business news on my laptop. Sure enough, there was Daniel's office, with a group of people holding signs about fraud and demanding their money back. I recognized several faces, other real estate agents who had worked with him over the years. Apparently, they all invested in some kind of exclusive investment fund, Lisa continued. Something about proprietary trading algorithms and guaranteed returns. Sound familiar? I muted my phone and took a deep breath. Of course, Amanda had used her position as my secretary to add credibility to her scheme. She had probably convinced them that working for a tech startup gave her inside knowledge of revolutionary trading software. "Thanks for letting me know," I said finally. but I'm actually heading into a meeting about our expansion into Asian markets. After hanging up, I turned my attention back to my actual work. Our AI technology was proving even more valuable than anticipated, and we were already exceeding our first quarter projections. I had a responsibility to my team and our investors to stay focused on real opportunities, not drama from my past. But the situation with Daniel and Amanda was impossible to ignore entirely. Over the next few days, more details emerged. They had convinced not just Daniel's colleagues, but also several of his wealthy clients to invest in their exclusive fund. The promise of proprietary trading algorithms, supposedly based on insider knowledge from their connection to my company, had been too tempting to resist. "Mrs. Harrison?" A voice interrupted my thoughts. I looked up to see a detective standing in my office doorway. "It's Ms. Kennedy now," I corrected him. "How can I help you?" "We're investigating a potential investment fraud involving Amanda Martinez and Daniel Harrison. We understand Ms. Martinez was employed here?" I nodded, pulling up Amanda's employment file on my computer. "She was my secretary for 2 years. Her access was limited to basic administrative functions. She had no involvement with our proprietary technology." The detective took notes as I outlined Amanda's role and responsibilities. "And when did she resign?" "About 2 months ago, right before my divorce was finalized." I handed him a copy of her resignation letter. Everything was documented through HR. "Are you aware that she and Mr. Harrison have disappeared with approximately $3.2 million in investor funds?" I kept my expression neutral. "No, but I'm not surprised. Amanda was very interested in our company's acquisition talks, though she never had access to any sensitive information. I assume she used that perceived connection to add credibility to whatever scheme they were running." The detective looked at me curiously. "You seem very calm about this." I gestured to the busy office beyond my glass walls, where my team was working on actual innovations. "I'm running a legitimate technology company that just sold for $800,000 and is now expanding globally. I don't have time to worry about people who chose to believe in get-rich-quick schemes." The next few weeks brought a cascade of revelations. During my morning coffee run at my favorite Palo Alto cafe, I overheard 2 of Daniel's former colleagues discussing their losses. "He took everything. My retirement savings, my kids' college fund," one man said, his voice breaking. "Amanda showed us all these fake trading reports, said we were making 40% returns monthly." "How could we have been so stupid?" his companion replied. "Just because she worked at a tech company, we thought—" I quietly paid for my coffee and left. Back at the office, I had more important matters to focus on. Our AI platform was expanding faster than projected, and I was interviewing potential leads for our new Singapore office. Real success, built on real innovation. That afternoon, Barbara called with an update. "The FBI is involved now," she said. "Apparently Amanda and Daniel set up shell companies in 7 different states. They're estimating total losses around $5 million. "Any sign of them?" I asked, more out of curiosity than concern. "The Cayman Islands account was emptied 2 days after they arrived. They were last seen boarding a yacht, but surveillance lost track of them after that." Barbara paused. "The investigators want to know if you'd be willing to make a statement about Amanda's role at your company." I considered this. "Send them our HR records and my previous statement. Amanda was a secretary who had no access to our technology. Anything she claimed otherwise was fraud, plain and simple." "They also found some interesting emails," Barbara added. "Apparently Daniel was bragging to investors about how he was leaving his financially useless wife just before hitting it big with this investment scheme. The timing is ironic." I smiled slightly, remembering his words in the divorce papers. "Karma often has better timing than we do, Barbara. Now, I need to prep for my board presentation. We're looking at expanding into medical AI applications." Later that day, I walked through our office, watching my team at work. The acquisition had allowed us to hire more developers, and our technology was evolving in ways I'd only dreamed of before. On one screen, I saw our AI analyzing cancer treatment outcomes. On another, it was predicting climate change patterns. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Local real estate mogul and former tech employee wanted in multi-million-dollar investment scam. The article included photos of Daniel and Amanda looking polished and professional, promising incredible returns based on proprietary AI trading algorithms. Michael, my lead developer, glanced at my phone. "Hard to believe they thought they could fake our technology," he said. "We've spent years developing these algorithms." "People believe what they want to believe," I replied, setting my phone aside, "especially when they're looking for easy money." "Speaking of money," Michael grinned, "the medical AI prototype just passed its first round of testing. The venture capital firms are already calling." I smiled, turning my attention to the future rather than the past. While Daniel and Amanda had been selling lies, we'd been building something real. Technology that could actually change lives. "Let's focus on that," I said. "We have a lot of work to do." 6 months into our acquisition integration, I was presenting our medical AI breakthroughs at a major tech conference in San Francisco when the story finally broke wide open. The Wall Street Journal had published an extensive expose on Daniel and Amanda's scam, complete with details that even I hadn't known. During a break between sessions, I scrolled through the article on my tablet. They had apparently started planning their scheme the moment our acquisition talks began. Amanda had used her position as my secretary to create fake documentation, combining snippets of our actual AI technology with completely fabricated trading results. "Ms. Kennedy?" A reporter from Tech Weekly approached me as I left the stage. "Any comment on the Harrison-Martinez investment scandal? Given your connection..." "My connection is limited to running the legitimate technology company they tried to imitate," I interrupted politely but firmly. "Our AI platforms are helping hospitals predict patient outcomes and assisting climate scientists. That's what I'm here to discuss." Back in my hotel room, I received an email from the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. They'd found evidence that Daniel had tried to access my company's servers multiple times after I'd revoked Amanda's credentials, attempting to steal actual trading algorithms to cover their tracks. "Your security measures prevented any breach," the agent wrote, "but we'd like your team's help tracking their digital footprint through various cryptocurrency exchanges." I forwarded the request to our security team. We'd help law enforcement, of course, but I had more pressing matters to handle. Our medical AI had just received fast-track approval for hospital trials, and several major healthcare providers were eager to partner with us. My phone lit up with a text from Barbara. "Thought you should know. They found Daniel. Airport security in Buenos Aires picked him up trying to use a fake passport. No sign of Amanda or the money." I was in the middle of replying when my VP of operations knocked on my door. "Sorry to interrupt, but the Singapore team just made a breakthrough with the climate modeling algorithm. They're ready to demo whenever you are." "Set up the call," I said, putting my phone away. The past could wait, the future couldn't. The next morning's headlines told the rest of the story. Amanda had apparently disappeared with nearly all the money, leaving Daniel to face the consequences alone. His desperate attempt to flee had failed, and now he was facing extradition and multiple federal charges. During my closing keynote at the conference, I spoke about the importance of ethical innovation and genuine value creation. Without mentioning Daniel or Amanda, I addressed the broader lesson. Real innovation isn't about quick profits or flashy promises, I told the packed auditorium. It's about solving real problems and creating actual value. Success isn't measured in fast money. It's measured in lives improved and problems solved. The irony wasn't lost on anyone when our medical AI platform was awarded Innovation of the Year, the same day Daniel was extradited to face charges. While he had chased empty promises and fake algorithms, we had built something revolutionary. That evening, I received another update from the FBI. They'd frozen several offshore accounts, but most of the investors' money was gone. Amanda remained at large, likely with millions in stolen funds. I closed my laptop and turned my attention to our latest project proposals. Their story was ending, but ours was still being written. 1 year later, I sat in the courtroom watching Daniel's sentencing. He looked older than his 35 years, his former confidence replaced by defeat. The judge was unsparing in her assessment of his crimes. Mr. Harrison, you have pled guilty to multiple counts of wire fraud, investment fraud, and conspiracy, she declared. Your willing participation in this scheme has destroyed lives and retirement savings. The court sentences you to 12 years in federal prison. I didn't stay to watch him being led away. I had a board meeting to attend, where we'd be discussing the rollout of our medical AI system to 50 more hospitals. Our technology had already helped improve patient outcomes by 40%, and the climate modeling division was making remarkable progress in predicting extreme weather patterns. The media had dubbed our story The Tale of Two Paths, contrasting my legitimate success with Daniel and Amanda's fraud. While they had sold lies and stolen dreams, we had built something that was actually changing the world. Amanda was still missing, presumably living somewhere with the stolen millions. Interpol had traces of her in Dubai, then Singapore, but the trail had gone cold. Daniel's desperation to find her had only underscored the completeness of her betrayal. As I drove to our Palo Alto headquarters, I thought about how differently things might have turned out if Daniel had actually bothered to understand what I was building, instead of dismissing it as financially useless. But then again, people who chase quick riches rarely recognize real value when they see it. 2 weeks after Daniel's sentencing, I was asked to give the commencement speech at Stanford's School of Engineering. Looking out at the sea of eager faces, I saw the same drive and determination that had pushed me to build something meaningful. Success isn't about finding shortcuts, I told them. It's about creating real value. The world is full of people looking for quick wins and easy money, but true innovation comes from dedication, integrity, and the courage to build something genuine. After the ceremony, a young woman approached me, clutching her diploma. I read about what happened with your ex-husband and former secretary, she said. It must feel satisfying to see them get what they deserved. I thought about this for a moment. Actually, I was too busy building something real to focus on their downfall. They chose their path, just as I chose mine. That evening, I received an email from our Singapore team. Our climate modeling AI had just helped a small island nation successfully evacuate before a devastating typhoon. Thousands of lives had been saved. Meanwhile, another alert popped up. Federal authorities had just seized the last of Daniel's hidden assets, a mere $42,000 in a forgotten account. As I walked through our office, now spanning 3 floors and employing over 200 people, I felt a deep sense of contentment. The company that Daniel had dismissed as my little project was now valued at over $100 million and, more importantly, was making a real difference in the world. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's the simple satisfaction of building something meaningful while others chase shadows.